Alright, I just came from watching The Little Mermaid. As a guy who watches stuff so that you don't have to go through it. Wow, I walked into this one thinking that, it won't be that bad.
You are wrong! All of you are wrong!
And I can guarantee you that this was terrible. Oh my lord, this was terrible. If you have watched the original animated version, which I reacted to on this channel, and then you watch this, that's how much I disliked it. I think 1 hour 20 minutes into the movie I fell asleep, and then I woke up and it was not over yet. I was like, God damn, why have you not ended yet? Like, I wanted it to end so badly.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham, wham.
This is one of those films I walked in not expecting it to be hate watching, but it turns out I just spent the last 10 minutes of the movie being like, I hate it so much, I hate it, and I hate it so much. And no, it is not because of a black Little Mermaid. No, I'll explain to you why I hate it so much. Let's start with the opening scene. The opening scene has Eric's ship with his men trying to harpoon mermaids. They're like throwing spears, or is it harpoons or something, into the ocean. That's not how the original opens. Now, I know it's a remake, so they're going to change things, but that was specifically put there to show evil white man. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it was shown, it was put there to just demonstrate evil white man. Because I know that King Triton says that they don't like the surface because, humans kill fish, but the point of the movie is that Eric's people are different. You get that Eric is a different breed. Like, the movie itself tells you that not all humans are the same, but instead it opens by showing you, humans kill fish, and even Eric, our protagonist, his men kill fish. I'm like, the people who made this remake don't understand what the film is about. Then the movie goes on and you see Ariel. I'm going to call her Black Ariel so that we know that we're talking about the remake Ariel. We see Black Ariel. She finds a telescope, so the telescope falls from the ship into the ocean. In the original movie, it was a fish that fell into the ocean, and then, we see the underwater world. In the original film, we see a fish falling into the water so that we can get to, it's a segue into seeing the fish, right? But now in this one, it's a telescope that falls. Ariel finds it, and then she begins like playing with it. Now, I know there was a telescope in the original film, but you see, Ariel finds it and starts playing with it and then starts looking through it, and I'm like, the movie is missing the mark, because Ariel is supposed to be the kind of character that is intrigued by human objects. But now when you have her just pick it up and then she's looking through it and she knows how to put it back together and extend it, I'm like, that's not Ariel. Ariel is supposed to be clueless about these things, but instead she's demonstrated like she knows how these things work. She already knows how the telescope works. The underwater CGI in the introduction was fine until they get to King Triton and the daughters. My God, it looks awful there. It looks like a bunch of deep fakes, in my opinion. It looked like, that was like my first impression. It looked like a bunch of deep fakes. And for some reason, the CGI just cannot get King Triton's beard correct. It looks weird. I don't know, it doesn't sway properly in the water. Now, this whole scene in the introduction, in the original movie, there's a whole scene where Sebastian leads a song with the sisters of Ariel. It's not there in the remake. And the point of that scene was to show you that Sebastian is a musician, he's a conductor. It's been cut out in the remake. It is not there. So now Sebastian is just there like King Triton's assistant. It's like his character has been degraded down, and that's what I really did not like. Flounder is just, oh my God, the creepiest thing to look at. Just, oh my God, every time I saw Flounder, he just looked so creepy. He looked like, he was looking at me and being like, hey, I like eating worms. you got a worm in between your legs. You know, something. I feel like he would say something creepy like that. You know, like it looked so creepy. My God, Sebastian. I mean, Sebastian is just Sebastian. Every time Sebastian just zooms in close to the screen, migraine-inducing nightmare type CGI. It was so bad. Flounder looked like a puppet. You know, like if you do, you know, when you wear a sock, and then you have like a sock puppet talking, that's how it looked with Flounder talking on screen. So lifeless. Such lifelessness in these characters. And then you have Ariel being like, oh, when she picks up the fork and she's talking to Flounder and she's like, oh, Scuttle will know, she will know. So Scuttle has been gender swapped and is voiced by Awkwafina and is a woman. Awkwafina as Scuttle is painful to listen to. It would be like having Kevin Hart voicing Shrek. You know, it would be something like that. It's like Shrek can be funny, but he's not that funny like the donkey is. So you can't have someone like Kevin Hart voicing Shrek. That's how it is, in my opinion, when Awkwafina voices Scuttle. They have a scene where they have Scuttle talking underwater, and it looks like, what the hell are you even watching? Like, you're going for realism in one place and then you're going for complete anti-realism in another place. You can't have this bird underwater talking to fish, completely submerged. It looked so weird. Sebastian, there's this one scene where he floats to the surface of the water and the camera just zooms in on him. My God, it reminded me of like those, if you've watched Attack on Titan, it reminded me of those red faces from Attack on Titan. Jeez, the water CGI is so bad. Like, you can find better water CGI from Finding Nemo. In my opinion, the water CGI is so bad. The characters look like they're floating just in the middle of the air. Like the water does not look believable to me. You see now, because there was no scene of Ariel, the scene where Ariel is supposed to be like, oh my God, I'm missing my dad's celebration where I'm supposed to sing, because they cut that part out. It's like they degraded Ariel's character, because that was supposed to be a hint that Ariel is a good singer. But because that scene of her missing the father's celebration, apparently it was supposed to be the presentation of, you know, his daughters in the remake. I'm like, it didn't even add to the plot in any way. And the dialogue later on when Ariel and King Triton are talking, it makes no sense, because Ariel has never been to the surface. In the remake, she has never been to the surface. So when she starts saying how intrigued she is with the human world, you're like, what are you talking about? You've never even been to the surface. What the hell are you talking about? There are scenes, I know a lot of people are talking about the movie being dark. It's not dark all through, but there are parts where I know they're going for realism, like once you start going into like the deep sections of the ocean, it gets really dark and you can't really see what's going on. And then we get to the part where Halle Bailey sings Part of Your World, and yeah, she can sing, but her acting is just so off. If you watch the animated version versus Halle Bailey singing it, like there's certain body language movements that are missing. For example, when in the cartoon version, the animated version, the original version, when Ariel says, what do you call them? Feet? You know, she plays with Flounder's feet. But in this one, she just says the line, what do you call them? Feet? She's missing the body language. There's no body language. So it seems lifeless. It seems like she's just saying the line because the line is there and it's no. There were times when Halle Bailey would be singing and it would look like lip sync in my eyes. When she continues singing about I want to be part of that world, when she's singing that part, to me I was just laughing, because I was like, what are you singing? It seems so uncompelling because you haven't been to the surface world yet. It seems so uncompelling to me. So the sequence where Eric's ship burns, that one is fine. When Eric now gets saved by Ariel, that part makes no sense. Why? Because when Ariel got to the ship, she never said a word. She just stood there as the sailors were talking and, you know, having conversation. She was just there like, Okay. You know, she didn't say a thing. The entire part about her talking about how Eric is beautiful and handsome has been cut out. So when she saves him, it makes no sense because she didn't have like any specific interest in him. Also in this movie, they tell you that that Ursula and King Triton are brother and sister. They tell you that, but they don't bother telling you why she was banished. I was like, if you're going to give us a backstory for her, might as well explain why she was banished, but you don't get that. Then you have the part for where Ariel sings Under the Sea with Sebastian. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for her to sing that because the reason why Sebastian sings Under the Sea is so that to try and convince her to stay underwater. So when Ariel, Black Ariel, is singing it, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for her to join into the song because her whole character is about going to the surface and Sebastian is trying to convince her to stay there. The people who made this movie just made the movie because they understand, oh, you're supposed to see this part next, then this part, then this part. It's a very soulless, lifeless remake. You don't even have the part where Ariel is like, he loves me, not, you know, with a petal. So you don't get to see Ariel getting infatuated with Eric. So there's this part where you see King Triton being like, telling Sebastian, do you think my girl is infatuated with someone? Like, we haven't seen that infatuation happening. It's just said, it's not actually shown on screen. And even when Under the Sea ends, Sebastian says, you know, that line for somebody has to nail her fins down to the floor. But I mean, it comes off in such a lifeless way because wasn't she singing Under the Sea with you right now? So it's like she was agreeing with you. So in the cartoon, when he says it, it's because he's trying to keep her underwater. But in the remake, because she's singing along, it means nothing. The line from Sebastian means nothing. In this movie, there is a strong black queen who is supposed to be apparently Eric's adopted mother. I was like, diversity and inclusion from Disney as usual. And then Eric has a song. It was, Jesus Christ, it was painful to listen to. It reminded me of the band Bastille. If you know Bastille, yeah, Eric singing reminded me of Bastille, but without the vocal talent of Bastille. Eric is made into a simp, and then he's like, you know, uncharted waters, can't wait to meet the girl. And his simping is just so out of character because he doesn't know how Ariel looks like, but Ariel knows how he looks like. So the movie is forcing them to be on the same wavelength, of which them not being on the same wavelength is what made the original movie so interesting. Then they get to the scene where King Triton finds Ariel's stash of human objects. And you know, there's this famous line in the cartoon where he says, I find myself to be a reasonable merman. Yeah. And Ariel says, Daddy, I love him. You know, there's this like cool conversation that shows you that Ariel is in love and King Triton is upset that the daughter is obsessed with the human world. So that conversation is not there in the remake. Javier Bardem just, you know, he just starts destroying stuff and it seems so out of character because it happened in the original movie, now it's happening in the remake, but without the proper context. That's what is really irritating me. In the remake, the eels don't talk, so they don't have that scene where they go to Ariel to convince her to go to Ursula, which makes it weird when the eel starts swimming with her to go there. There's also no that scene where there's souls. That one is not. This movie has cut out all the best parts of what made the original so good. And then when Ursula finally gives Ariel her legs, she adds an amnesia spell so that she can forget that she needs to be kissed. And I'm like, okay, that's bad writing because that removes the whole need for Ursula to go to the surface and become a human woman and having to trick Eric. Ah, boy. In the original, it was Eric who finds Ariel. But in the remake, Ariel is just found by some fisherman. just found by some random fisherman. It is because Eric found Ariel that she ends up being given the royal treatment, but no, that was also cut out, I think for inclusion or something. Also, they changed the song, the one about the souls. They changed the part where Ariel signs the contract. So many good things removed from the original film for this awful remake, my god. It was around this point where Ariel and Eric meet up in the remake that I began to check out. That's why I began to sleep. The movie was becoming too boring, too long, too badly paced. The scene with the chef and Sebastian is not there. The scene where the guy with the pipe is not there. And that's what made the animated classic so good. In the remake, Black Ariel and Eric, their chemistry is like watching paint dry. It is just remarkably bad. And then we get to the scuttlebutt.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham.
That song by Scuttle is just, my goodness. In the remake, there is no hypnosis. When Ursula becomes a human woman, there is no hypnosis. On Eric, there is no wedding. Having to stop the wedding. They removed like all the best good things. Then also they removed the fact that Eric does not kill Ursula. It is Ariel who does it. I hated this movie so much. It just corrupted the original so badly by removing all the good things. I give it a 5 out of 10. Ursula was acceptable and probably the only thing that I enjoyed. Melissa McCarthy, her performance of Ursula was okay, and I think I only laughed once during the entire film. I reacted to the original. I'll leave it right here. If you enjoyed my review, make sure to smash like and subscribe. I was not going to react to this garbage. If you asked me to watch it a second time, I'd rather have The Rock punch me in the face. If I had to choose between The Rock punching me in the face and rewatching this, I'd rather he knock me out. I can't rewatch this. And I'll leave the reaction for the original one here. I'll see you in the next one.